Okay, so firstly, I mean, back when the scandal was ongoing, that when there was an injunction out, you as the editor decided to break the story. What was your thought process behind that decision?
We were doing a package in the Sunday Herald that weekend about I did a whole bunch of things about secrecy and threats to press freedom and some ethical questions around how much information should be put in the public domain. We had a number of pieces about different stories that were kind of prominent at the time. One of them was about the gigs thing, but we hadn't named them at that time. So during the Saturday, which is our production day, Twitter was mentioning him. I think it was like once every, I think it was 20 times a second or something like that. And Giggs' lawyers had threatened to sue people, and there was this super injunction that was preventing newspapers from naming him, and it seemed to be ridiculous that you could find out very easily who the person was, that you could find out Giggs' identity very easily, but newspapers weren't allowed to publish it. It seemed, just ridiculous. So I kind of thought of making a sort of point about that in the paper and having his picture pixelated at the front. And then I remembered that we had done a story before about an issue, and there was a super injunction in place then as well. But we had found out that the lawyers who had placed the super injunction had not gone to the Scottish court, so it wasn't actually enforced in Scotland. So I made some inquiries about the Giggs super injunction, and I was as certain as I could be that the lawyers had not gone to Scottish court. So legally, the super injunction was not in force in Scotland. You had to make sure that the newspaper wouldn't be on sale in England, because if it had been on sale, then we would have been subject to the injunction. But we stopped all papers going south of the border, and we didn't put anything on social media about it. We didn't post the front page on social media, which we usually did. So we were pretty certain that we were legally able to both publish his picture and his name, and it seemed to me important for the SUS press freedom that we did so, and we did. So we had it we had consulted a whole bunch of lawyers and got pretty much conflicting legal advice, really, but the advice that I liked best was that we could do it, so I decided that we'd just go with that advice, and we did do it.
And were you, at the time, were you worried about any legal implications, or was it a case...
Absolutely terrified. It was very nerve-wracking when we did it, and we wanted to see what the reaction would be. Clearly, normally we can see quite quickly the reaction to our front pages, but we couldn't this time because we couldn't put it on social media, so we had to wait for the next day. And I woke up the next day, and it was, all the TV bulletins were talking about it, and there was a bit of controversy. I think, generally, there was a kind of misunderstanding in England, I think, that we had broken the super injunction. And I argued that we hadn't broken it because it wasn't enforced in Scotland. And it was a fairly basic mistake with the lawyers that they hadn't gone to the Scottish courts to do that. Had they done so, I wouldn't have been able to publish the picture nor his name. But so I wasn't breaking it; it just wasn't enforced in Scotland. But yeah, when I read the next day, there was quite a number of papers, both the next day and on Monday, suggesting that we would be done for contempt of court or breaking the super injunction, and we would be, facing jail sentences or significant fines, and that was quite worrying, obviously. But it was relatively quickly on Monday. I think the Attorney General had said there wouldn't be any repercussions for us. We wouldn't be facing any problems. And David Cameron, who was Prime Minister at the time, pretty much said the same thing. Alex Salmond, who was First Minister at the time, said that we were perfectly within our rights to do that. We were acting well within Scottish law. So by Monday, it seemed we were not going to face any major problems, any major legal problems over it. We were legally covered, I believed. There was still the ethical issue about was it an invasion of privacy? Because there would have to be a public interest in publishing that, rather than just sort of kind of prurience, really. And also Sunday Herald wasn't really a kind of story that went in for big sex scandals, particularly. So we did it really as a press freedom issue, and also to highlight the differences in regulation which the press faced compared to the lack of regulation that the social media faced. To be honest, I mean, the point of that wasn't really to get more regulation in social media, it was to get less regulation in the press. But anyway, it did spark that debate to some extent, but probably not as much as I'd hoped, and certainly didn't lead to any massive change, or certainly no relaxation in some of the more difficult regulations that the press faced then and continues to face. So yeah, it was. I thought that given it was probably easier, certainly on the internet, it was probably easier to find out Ryan Giggs' identity than it was to remain oblivious to it. That the issue of privacy didn't really apply because his privacy had pretty much been blown. And it was, in a way, it was a strange story because it was pretty much general knowledge who he was.
And I mean, at the end, after it all came out, and a lot of people praised the story for sort of breaking the stupidity almost of these injunction laws. Yes. Do you feel it changed the landscape of sports journalism when reporting on stories such as these?
There was a story about celebrities using money and the power they had to keep stories that they didn't want in the public domain, to keep them out of the public domain. So I thought that was an issue worth going to the wall for, because I think you kind of believe that the press should be able to tell people as much as they possibly can that's in the public interest. And I think the reactions of his lawyers and their threat to sue Twitter and the kind of, I suppose, the issues that social media would face because of their actions seemed to me to be an issue worth discussing in the pub, and therefore was in the public interest to discuss. So yeah, it was all about that. Whether or not it's had any long-term impact on that, it maybe had a bit less impact. It had a lot of impact at the time, but did it have any long-lasting changes? Probably less than I would have hoped for. Still super injunctions today, and I don't think the press are particularly any freer today than they were at the time.